Hello, good afternoon. I hope that everyone is doing well and in safety. And yes, this afternoon we are going to tackle about 5.10, the standard or the standard of assessing grammar effectively. All right, before we proceed, let us identify first what is grammar. Grammar, by definition, as what we have known, grammar is the system of rules that would allow us structure, create, or make sentences correctly. It also includes several parts or aspects of the English language, like the parts of speech, nouns, pronouns, adjectives, adverbs, verbs, conjunctions, prepositions, and modifiers, and etc. Grammar is an essential part of any language, and the students should be well versed with the grammatical knowledge of the appropriate subject. Grammar error causes major or minor difference in meaning. That is why we have to take care of that, okay? Assessing grammar. Number one, assessment is another fundamental aspect of teaching. Number two, assessment can help you determine students' proficiency in a language. Number three, using assessment, it helps us to identify our students' strengths and weaknesses. Number four, teachers also need to use constant assessment to determine how well the students comprehending the material that has been covered or how much information they have picked up from the specific course. And here are the following reasons to assess. Diagnosing students' strengths and weaknesses. Next is deciding what to and what not to teach in the next lesson or the next meeting. Giving students feedback. Seeing students' progress, if they are really progressing or they are improving with their grammar. And lastly, handling the students' final grade. And here are the following standard or the standard rules of assessing grammar effectively. Rule number one, use concrete rather than vague language. Example. So what is vague language? For those who don't know, vague is an adjective. It means uncertain, indefinite, or unclear meaning of a sentence. Example, vague. The weather was of an extreme nature on the southern Bohol. This sentence raises frustrating questions. When did this extreme weather occur? And what does of an extreme nature mean? Also, where specifically in the southern Bohol this takes place? So, why not change it to concrete language like this? Hagna had unusually cold weather yesterday, right? Isn't it so complete sentence? There is the location, specifically Hagna, and the of an extremely nature, the unusually cold, and the time that was yesterday. Rule number two, use active voice whenever possible. Active voice meaning the subject is performing the verb or the action word, while passive voice receives the action. Okay? Here's the example. Active, Barry hit the ball, while in a passive sentence, the ball was hit. Notice that the party responsible for the action. In the previous example, whoever hit the ball may not appear in the passive sentence or passive voice. So, on the other hand, still passive voice is still important when the subject is not unknown or is not known rather or unknown. Rule number three, avoid always using there is, there are, it is, it was, and alike. Use other term, okay? Instead of using there is a ton of snakes found in the forest, you can revise it into a ton of snakes found in the forest. Or even better, in the forest a ton of snakes was found. Isn't it better? Another example. It is important to signal before making a left turn. Or you can revise it into signaling before making a left turn is important. Or even better, you should signal before making a left turn. Isn't it sounds more amazing? And the last example is there are. There are some revisions that must be made. It can actually be revised into some revisions must be made, passive voice, or else into an active voice like this. Please make some revisions. Shorter, but it's really understandable already. Rule number 4. Do not use two negatives to avoid confusion. Just to make a positive sentence without a good reason. Example, they are not unwilling to help, which it can be just to make, which it could be just easier as like this. They are willing to help. Next, rule number 5. Use consistent grammatical form when offering several ideas. This is called the parallel construction. Here is the example. The incorrect sentence, I admire people who are honest, reliable, and have sincerity. In this version, are does not make sense with have sincerity. And have sincerity does not belong to the other two adjectives, honest and reliable. Instead, write it this way. The correct sentence should be, I admire people who are honest, reliable, and sincere. Note that are applies to and makes sense to with each of the three adjectives at the end. Another example. Incorrect sentence. You should check your grammar, spelling, and punctuate properly. Here, check your does not make sense with punctuate properly. And punctuate properly does not belong to the other two nouns, spelling, and grammar. Which the result is jarringly inept sentence. You can actually write it this way. The correct sentence should be like this. You should check your spelling, grammar, and punctuation. Wherein, in this sentence, the three are in a parallel construction in a noun form. Okay? Rule number 6. Word order can make or ruin a sentence. If you start a sentence with an incomplete phrase or clause, such as while crossing the street or forgotten by history, it must be followed closely by the person or thing it describes. Furthermore, the person or thing should always be the main subject of the sentence. Breaking this rule results to dreaded, all too common dangler modifier or dangler. Dangler meaning is the definition of the noun dangle, which means hang or swing loosely. Dangler, forgotten by history, his autograph was worthless. The problem there is his autograph should not come right after history because he was forgotten, not his autograph. Did you get it? So it can actually be Rule number 7. Place descriptive words or phrases as close as is practical to the words they modify. Example, I have a cake that Molly baked in my lunch bag. Cake here is too far from the lunch bag. making the sentence ambiguous and silly. Better written actually into in my lunch bag is a cake that Molly baked. Right? Do you agree? And lastly, rule number 8. A sentence fragment is usually an oversight or a bad idea. It occurs when you only have a phrase or dependent clause but are missing an independent clause. Example, sentence fragment, after the show ended. Actually, it can be like this. Full sentence. After the show ended, we had coffee. So isn't it more sounds amazing to listen to, right? Because it's a full sentence. It has the subject and the predicate. Alright, those are the standard or rules of assessing grammar effectively. I hope you learn a lot from it, and I hope I'm able to give you lessons on how to assess effectively towards our students, because it is really important to assess our students' grammar so that there is really understanding when they are writing or speaking with their, because in communication grammar actually plays a vital role, because with the correct grammar we can easily understand with each other, just like that, as easy as that. So I hope I'm able to impart you knowledge on how to assess grammar effectively with this set of rules or the standards in assessing grammar. So again, my name is Noel Galia. Thank you so much for listening. Please always keep safe and thank you so much. God bless everyone. Bye-bye!